ABC. This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. If you think of the Soviet Union as a giant jigsaw puzzle, you could see it coming apart this week. 3 pieces last Sunday: Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. Today, 5 more pieces fell away. The second largest of the Soviet republics, Kazakhstan, and 4 smaller ones in Central Asia: Kyrgyzia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. As of today, they all want to join a new Commonwealth, which is something of a puzzle itself, because on the surface it doesn't look all that different from the Confederation that Mikhail Gorbachev has been urging all these months, except that Mr. Gorbachev is being frozen out. It is certainly something of a puzzlement to the Bush administration. At the White House, ABC's Britt Hume.
The president finally broke a week-long near silence on the turmoil in the former Soviet Union to say it is not for the United States to interfere in what is essentially a democratic process.
We're supporting those who are reform. We're supporting those who are for democracy, whoever they are, wherever they are, in whatever republic they are, and in the center.
But what center? The administration clearly doesn't know, and Mr. Bush is trying to protect relations with all factions. The White House, for example, let it be known that Mr. Bush had a 30-minute phone call this morning from Russian President Yeltsin, leader of the emerging Commonwealth of former Soviet republics. Later, though, Mr. Bush called Mikhail Gorbachev and had a conversation of similar length. There may not be much left of the center Gorbachev once headed, but the administration is hoping there will at least be some centralized control over nuclear weapons.
We want to see that that is handled with all to the maximum amount of safety, and the assurances from the center and from the republic have been very good on that, incidentally.
Good assurances or not, Secretary of State Baker, after meeting with Mr. Bush, said those nuclear weapons and who controls them will be the top priority of his visit to Moscow and 4 other republics next week.
We're going to be looking for a reaffirmation of assurances that we have already been given. We are going to be seeking to determine if final arrangements and agreements have been entered into and made.
The tumult in the former Soviet Union comes at a bad time for the president. His schedule is heavy with events intended to show interest in domestic, not foreign issues. This has obscured all that and brought the president renewed criticism for his continued seeming devotion to the fading Mikhail Gorbachev. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
What's important to remember about all the chaos in the Soviet Union is why it's happening in the first place. The answer is fairly simple: 70 years of political and economic rot. And one thing to remember: in Moscow, which is still the capital, things are almost always better than they are elsewhere. Here's ABC's John Donovan.
There is food in Moscow. The trouble is what you have to go through to get it, which for some in this soup kitchen means slipping a little off their plates to take home. Most of these people in their 70s and 80s are too old to be standing in line at the grocery stores. Though Lucia Vinokurova does anyway. 6 hours for sausage, she said, day before yesterday. A line for cottage cheese at 9 this morning. The same state-owned store at 5 this afternoon. Everyone says there is no hunger here. Rather, it is the hours they waste waiting that wears them down, and the food itself.
It is impossible for foreigners, for example, to understand that we eat food of absolutely another quality than you, for example.
Whether it's getting the last piece of fatty beef or bags of rotting coleslaw, shoppers never know from one day to the next what will be available. As long as people can remember, there have been lines and shortages here. What's different now is that the lines are longer and the fear and frustration deeper, even in the private markets, where there is plenty of food at high prices. The owner of this private meat store says that average people are willing to pay 1/8 of their monthly wage for a pound of sausage. There is, he says, more fear of hunger than real hunger.
Everybody is afraid of this situation. Maybe they are waiting the situation in a week, maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in a month.
The elderly are the most frightened. When a German group handed out food the other day, this woman broke down. "I just cannot go on," she said. Out of fear, many people have been hoarding food, but that only makes the hunt for it that much harder. John Donovan, ABC News, Moscow.
You certainly wouldn't want to be traveling around the Soviet republics today. At airports in Moscow and elsewhere, some long-distance flights have been delayed for hours, even days. There's simply not enough fuel to go around. When we come back, other news. How the tax on some luxury items here has backfired. Another look at healthcare, the critical problems in rural America. And on this Friday, our Person of the Week, the long road to the top.
Can a razor cut your beard off below the skin without the blades even touching your face? It can if it's a Norelco. Norelco's patented lift and cut system lifts the hair, so when it's cut, it can actually drop below skin level without the blades even touching your face. Are you getting a shave this incredibly close and exceptionally comfortable? You are when you shave with Norelco. Norelco, we make close comfortable.
Ford Taurus, the pattern other car companies have drawn on for inspiration. Well, this year, we've given them even more inspiration. With a more aerodynamic design, a more intelligent interior, and dual airbags, an exclusive Ford Motor Company offer in this class. Once again, we've sent the competition back to the drawing board. Have you noticed a pattern developing here? Have you driven a Ford lately?
Economic news today, the rate of inflation edged up a bit last month. Blame it on the California whitefly. The insect has destroyed thousands of acres of lettuce and tomatoes and melons, which pushed up the overall price of food, which pushed up the overall index of consumer prices 0.4%. In Washington, we are sure you've noticed there's been a lot of talk lately about how to get the economy moving again, but not much action, which may have a great deal to do with the fact that nobody knows with any certainty what will work. Certainly, tinkering with taxes is a very risky business. A year ago, Congress slapped a tax on some luxuries, yachts and planes and expensive jewelry, for example, which Congress estimated at the time would raise $1.5 billion. ABC's Brian Rooney tonight on the unexpected and embarrassing result.
The Beechcraft Corporation in Wichita is the country's largest maker of small airplanes. Beechcraft's sales representatives say that in the last year, because of the luxury tax, Beechcraft lost the sale of 53 planes worth a total of $100 million. Beechcraft employees were hurt, and the U.S. Treasury also suffered.
It would take 360 people working for a year to build those 53 airplanes, and they would have paid something on the order of $3 million in federal taxes.
Instead, sales took a nosedive. 100 Beechcraft workers have been laid off. In the first 9 months of this year, the tax has been applied to 6 planes, netting just $53,000 for the federal treasury.
Here we have a tax that has lost $5 in revenue for every dollar's worth of revenue it's taken in, and has destroyed already at least 19,000 jobs in this country.
Congressman Army says the luxury tax is having a disastrous effect on the boat building industry and, to a lesser extent, the jewelry manufacturers.
The tax is supposed to grab some extra money from the rich, but critics say people don't get rich by being easily separated from money. Instead of buying new airplanes, the rich buy used planes that are not taxed.
We have had several people come to us, and we're not able to talk to them about new airplanes strictly because of the luxury tax issue.
Proponents of the luxury tax dismiss efforts to repeal it as just another ploy by the rich to get out of paying taxes.
This is a rich man's tax, and it's advocates for rich people who are trying to repeal it.
But the luxury tax doesn't have to be repealed for the rich to get out of paying it. All they have to do is stop buying taxable luxuries, and that's what they've done. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Wichita, Kansas.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials gained another 19 points to close at 29.14. The trading was heavy. That brought the gain for the week to nearly 28 points. Tonight, the last in our current series of reports on the healthcare system. A group of Democratic senators that's been touring the country all week investigating the system was in Colorado today. There, the senators were told that when it comes to rural health care, it is getting to the point where only people with medical emergencies can find treatment, especially if they're poor. ABC's Tom Foreman is in the Colorado town of Greeley.
From the moment the doors open each morning at the federally funded Sunrise Health Center, the waiting room is full.
Jamie Gonzalez?
You do not have to be a medical expert to analyze the state of rural health care here. There are too many patients, not enough doctors, and not enough money to change the situation.
We could triple the number of providers and nursing staff that we have. We could triple the size of this clinic if we were to take care of the people in this community who needed care.
There is extra pressure on public clinics because the number of private doctors serving rural America has been going down. Of 300 hospitals closed in the past 10 years, 2/3 were in rural areas.
Does that would upset your stomach?
As rural populations have moved to the cities, private practices have become less profitable. Dr. David Bagley has looked 3 years for someone to take over his clinic so he can retire.
Who's going to replace you here? That's a good question. Right now, I don't have the slightest idea.
Can I look in that ear first?
Meanwhile, at the government-subsidized Sunrise Clinic, the patients pour in, some driving more than an hour to see the only doctor they can afford.
If you have the time to get to the doctor, if it's just a cold or flu or things like that, then it's fine. But for emergencies, then it is a problem.
Well, you probably have to go somewhere else.
6 months ago, the clinic stopped accepting any new patients. It has stretched its resources as far as they will go.
I've been in this business for a long time, and it hurts. I mean, who do you shut off?
And who do you treat, and for how long, when every day's work runs into the evening with no end to the troubles in sight? Tom Foreman, ABC News, Greeley, Colorado.
More news in just a moment.
With Domino's Pizza's Season's Greetings Special. Now get a medium pepperoni pizza for just $2.99 with any large pizza at the regular price. We don't make your pizza till you make your call and deliver in 30 minutes or less, guaranteed.
Ho, ho!
Case of the mystery blonde had us all tied up.
When you can't get to the picture, only Minolta's Freedom starts zooming it to you automatically.
Shoot!
The secretary.
You hired her.
Freedom Zoom cameras.
Only from the mind of Minolta.
When I was little, I was always getting caught with my hand in the cookie jar. And I still love sweet things, like Sunsweet pitted prunes. So you see, nothing's changed, except my cookie jar.
When you're all stuffed up and use an ordinary nasal spray, it drips into your tissue where it can't help you breathe. But not Sinex Ultrafine Mist. Its medicine stays where you need it, so you can breathe the way you want to. We don't drip down, we clear up.
Pain from just one sensitive tooth can start the domino effect. Pain can make you stop brushing, lead to plaque buildup, gingivitis, periodontal disease, even tooth loss. Sensodyne toothpaste helps stop the pain and the domino effect.
In Northern Ireland today, the latest episode in the Irish Republican Army's violent campaign to drive the British out of the province. 60 people injured when a huge bomb was set off in a town near Belfast. Given events in the Soviet Union and Yugoslavia, Northern Ireland has been out of the news for a while. But nothing much has changed, except it's the Christmas season and the violence is even worse than usual. Here's ABC's John Lawrence.
It is the heaviest IRA bombing campaign since the 1970s. The IRA is now setting off the biggest bombs it has ever used in its 20-year guerrilla war against Britain. In launching this campaign, the IRA is disrupting the economic life of Northern Ireland and showing that it still has the strength to carry on its war indefinitely.
It's really a case of the IRA chopping and changing its strategy and its tactics to keep the British on the run, to not quite know where they're coming from.
Last week, the IRA bombed the Provincial Opera House and a leading hotel in the center of Belfast, injuring 18 people.
That's their answer to a Merry Christmas. They're knocking a lot of people out of work. They're giving a lot of heartbreak. They're causing depression. That's the way they're going to win. They'll never win. Never.
The IRA may be flexing its military muscle now because it is losing political support among the working-class Catholics it claims to be fighting for. By a margin of 2-1, Catholics support moderate politicians who are trying to negotiate a peaceful settlement and condemn IRA violence.
I think that they are traitors to this country, to the Catholic people, to the Protestant people. The godfathers of the IRA have no mandate from the Irish people.
But the IRA wants to remind everyone that there can be no peace in Northern Ireland without its consent. Extremists on the Protestant side are also active in what has become the worst wave of sectarian murders in 15 years. Angered at the prospect of political concessions to Catholics, Protestant death squads are killing civilians with the same ruthless efficiency as the provisional IRA.
The new group coming through, I think, are more aggressive and more determined, and they're certainly intending to match some of the atrocities committed by the provisionals.
More than ever, the people of Northern Ireland want peace. But with the bombers and assassins engaged again in tribal war, the prospects for peace seem as remote as ever. John Lawrence, ABC News, Belfast.
A last note from overseas, a judge in Spain has released the autopsy report on the death of the publisher Robert Maxwell. No evidence of foul play. The coroner finds that Mr. Maxwell, who disappeared from his yacht last month, probably died from a combination of a heart failure and drowning. When we come back, a political scorecard. The Democrats, who will hold their first televised debate this weekend.
3 years ago, we set out to create a sports sedan. But first and foremost, we set out to create a Lexus. Introducing the new Lexus ES 300 Sports Sedan.
Do your holiday shopping with the Discover card, and you'll not only give, you'll receive a cashback bonus for every charge. It pays to Discover.
Every time it rains, it rains.
The Discover card pays a cashback bonus on every penny you charge.
Pennies from heaven.
It pays to Discover.
This man's incredibly close, comfortable shave comes from the Norelco razor. But to see how he got it, we have to go back to when he began shaving. Not just above the skin, but below it. Here, our patented lift and cut system lifts the hair so when it's cut, it can actually drop below skin level without the blades even touching your face. Try it, and you'll keep going back to Norelco for a perfect shave. Norelco, we make close, comfortable.
I saw my doctor because the pain was so bad. I was afraid I needed surgery for my hemorrhoids. I was itching. The burning was awful. But my doctor said my hemorrhoids weren't serious. I didn't need surgery. He told me it was time I started using Preparation H.
Preparation H helps shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues and often brings relief from pain, itching, and burning for hours.
What a difference Preparation H makes.
Doctor recommended Preparation H.
It is not much of a flame yet, but the political campaign may heat up a bit this weekend. On Sunday, the 6 Democrats running for their party's presidential nomination will hold their first televised debate. ABC's Jeff Greenfield tonight on how their biographies read so far.
I won't forget the mill workers I met.
They're all younger than President Bush, as much as 20 years younger. All of them are or were governors or senators. The most familiar face belongs to former California Governor Jerry Brown, who hasn't held elective office in a decade. His is the most radical campaign, a scorched earth attack on the whole political process.
The triumph of the forces of special privilege, with its devastating consequences to the entire nation, was engineered. And it was engineered with the complicity of Washington's entrenched politicians, Democrats and Republicans alike.
How is he turning the clock back?
Virginia Governor Doug Wilder came into the race barely a year after becoming the nation's first black elected governor. He's emphasizing a conservative fiscal message.
We have no choice but to tell the people the simple truth. We must rethink the priorities of the federal budget. We must cut tens of billions in federal spending.
Paul Tsongas was the first and for months the only announced candidate in the race. The former Massachusetts senator, who fought and beat cancer, often challenges traditional Democratic themes like soaking the rich.
We think it's marvelous to engage in things like class warfare and corporate bashing. That's good politics. It's terrible economics.
Bob Kerrey. The highest profile in the field belongs to Nebraska Senator Bob Kerrey. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor in Vietnam, where he lost part of a leg. He became a millionaire businessman, then governor. His reputation for charisma has been on intermittent display thus far. His central issue, national health care.
I believe we need to fundamentally change the way we finance health care so that eligibility occurs as a consequence of being an American rather than as a consequence of proving that you're poor enough or old enough.
Are you ready? Iowa Senator Tom Harkin preaches the old-time Democratic gospel. More domestic spending paid for by higher taxes on the wealthy. He's a self-styled Harry Truman type who mocks the president's privileged upbringing.
You've had 4 years of George Herbert Walker Bush.
And Harkin criticizes Democrats who stray from the liberal path.
He said for the Democrats to win in 1992, they need a candidate who's not afraid to attack the Republicans and isn't ashamed of traditional Democratic values.
Harkin may be talking about Bill Clinton, the 5-term Arkansas governor who's been winning applause with a blend of liberal and conservative ideas that link government benefits to more individual responsibility.
We should expect people to move from welfare roles to work roles. We should give them the skills they need to succeed and then insist that they move into the workforce to become productive members of society.
The field will look very different if Governor Mario Cuomo enters the race, but whether he does or not, what's shaping up is a real struggle over whether the Democrats should emphasize their once dominant liberal message or sharply redefine it. Jeff Greenfield, ABC News, New York.
We'll be back in just a moment.
World News Tonight with Peter Jennings and the Person of the Week are brought to you by the makers of Advil.
Some days my minor arthritis acts up, and I really feel the pain. I used to take aspirin. Now I've switched to Advil. Advil relieves the pain in my stiff joints. In fact, 1 Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin. And Advil is gentler to my stomach. Maybe that's why doctors recommend Advil for minor arthritis pain more than any other brand. For my pain, I simply prefer Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Wish I didn't have to bake. Wish I knew what to bring. Wish I'd get one.
Baskin-Robbins presents 30 wonderful holiday desserts that'll make your wishes come true.
This Christmas, you can send a beautiful gift without ever having to leave home. The FTD Season's Greetings Bouquet. It's highly recommended by the one big guy who should know.
It's as easy as FTD.
I was a dedicated beard wearer until my wife gave me the new Remington Microscreen Elite. It's quick. It's close. The Remington Microscreen Elite has 2 ultra-thin screens. So comfortable, shaves as close as a blade or your money back. That's Remington.
Introducing Glade Plug-ins Potpourri.
Plug it in the fresh in the air. Plug it in the fresh in everywhere.
Plug into freshness with Glade Plug-ins, now in Potpourri.
Plug it in, plug it in.
Some needy Nashville children may end up empty-handed this Christmas. We'll tell you why. And on the Nashville Beat, we'll catch up with singer K.T. Oslin. I'm Bob Mueller. Channel 2 News at 6 is coming up next.
Finally, this Friday, our Person of the Week. Extraordinary changes this week in what has been run for so long like a one-party state. Almost since the beginning, much of the country had believed that the events of the last few days were simply not possible. And yet the rumblings of democracy were inescapable. And thanks to the efforts of the government, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters has its first president openly elected by the membership.
Where I'm coming from is this union is about the membership, the forgotten people, good contracts, decent pensions. Having union officers go into the office there and represent the members. So what do you say, fellas, Bobby?
This week, the members of the International Teamsters have spoken, and they say that Ronald Cowrie is their new president. President of a union that represents truckers and teachers and hospital workers and many others. This was a legitimate election, so ordered by the federal government.
Over the 88-year history of the Teamster Union, they've never had a right to vote, to correct anything that was wrong.
And that is Cowrie's mandate, to clean up the corruption that has been part and parcel of the Teamsters' leadership for decades.
I don't believe in the corporate country lifestyle that our union officials have used this union for. They've used it for their own selfish means and for their own selfish ends. I'm fed up with the corruption. I'm fed up with the membership be damned, and you're lucky you have a job.
Ron Carey's election means that the Teamsters, which have been rotten at the core for so long, are indeed on their way to becoming what unions are supposed to be. Because what this means is that the nation's most important single union is actually going to become a union again instead of a subsidiary of organized crime.
The legacy left to Carey by his predecessors reads like a police blotter. 4 past presidents indicted, 3 spent time in prison, hundreds accused of having ties to organized crime, taking bribes from management for favorable contract negotiations, tampering with the members' pension funds. Ron Carey was elected because he said, enough.
It's goodbye to the mafia. It's goodbye to the concessionary contracts. It's goodbye to those who have lined their pockets and who have put the membership in last place.
Ron Carey grew up in Queens, New York. His father drove a United Parcel Service delivery truck. As a teenager, Ron was a championship swimmer, but he turned down a college scholarship and joined the Marines. After the service in 1955, Carey went to work driving for UPS. By 1976, he was president of the local.
Started out as a shop steward and worked my way up and have fought the system.
But the system fought back when he campaigned as a reformer to lead the local. UPS management, happy with the union leaders in place, threatened to blackmail Carey if he refused to withdraw. Carey recorded the threats on tape and used them to his advantage. In this campaign for the national leadership, Carey ran once again as a reformer, as outsider against the old guard.
It was a David and Goliath classic story. We didn't have the resources, we didn't have the money, the access. We went directly to the membership.
Ron Carey has a lot to accomplish in reforming a union that has been so corrupt for so long.
His greatest obstacle in overcoming the past is the past, which is that the image and the reality of the Teamsters has been so bad.
All right, Mr. President.
But for now, he has at least given 1.5 million working people the kind of voice they've never had.
The greatness about this is the membership. These people, the people that made this happen. And that's what this fight is about. It's about them. It's about the forgotten Teamster. And I'm just proud to be a part of it.
And so we choose Ron Carey, whose struggle to improve the system has already made for a stunning change in the labor movement. A number of people who monitor the Teamsters closely point out today that it would be naive to think he's completely in charge. Still, Mr. Carey has made it clear that union leaders in the 1990s run roughshod over their members at their peril. That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Hope you have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Good night.
And now, the news continues with Channel 2 News.